Hey, it's your girl KV, and we're back for another episode of the Hood Health Report. Again, I have Celine joining us today, and today we're going to talk about the 4-day work week. So, with the push to remote work because of the pandemic, seems like a lot of companies have also started to see what other changes could be made, which brings us to today's topic, the 4-day work week. So, the first article that we're going to start with is by CNBC. Workers who tested 4-day work week say they'll never return to 5 days or only with a huge pay bump. So, more than 900 workers across 33 businesses in the US and Ireland tested a 4-day work week this year, and none of them are going back to a 5-day model. So, this was a 6-month pilot that they did, and they did a 180-100 model, which means the workers receive 100% of their pay for 80% of the time and maintain 100% productivity. The initiative is led by a nonprofit 4-day week global in partnership with researchers at Cambridge University, Boston College, and University College of Dublin. So what do you think about this article?
So my thoughts after reading it was I think there's a lot of benefits to 4-day work weeks. People are less stressed. I would be happy to have a 4-day work week. And the first thing I thought about was like that thing where they talk about reclaim your time. I was like, reclaim your time, because for most jobs, I don't feel like you need 5 days to get anything accomplished. Like you can get everything you need to get accomplished in 4 days. And I'm glad that they kept the model of the 180-100, because people still need to get paid for doing what they're doing. I don't think you should cut their pay because they're working less. If they're working smarter, then why not help them still be able to afford what they need to afford? So I'm for it.
And another great thing about this article, it said even though most employees went from 41 to 35 hours, businesses reported an increase 8% in revenue throughout the trial period and a 38% increase from the same time period from last year. So it seems like if you give people the option of how they kind of structure their work week a bit more, they can get things done. It also said it prevented people from like killing dead time in the day with just scrolling Twitter or doing this because you just need a break from looking at this or looking at the same spreadsheets or the same client list. So you take a break and look at social media. It prevents that. So now that you know that you have this extra day that you won't have to work, you can just cut out all the nonsense in your work day and just get the stuff done quicker and be done with it. Everybody's happy. So another point that they made in this article, which was a question that I had, was what type of companies are they testing this model on? Because I would think that some jobs it would be a little harder than others to get things done. Like if you're an auto service company where you're front facing with the clients, would you have to hire more people or restructure the day? And so they mentioned that they had some different implementations that would better help the workday flow if you're taking off a workday for them. So Advanced RV said that employees were hesitant to try out the experiment because they worried about doing the same amount of work in less time. So the study gave them different tools to cut down hours. So they brought in new software to streamline some of their work, and they also cut down on meetings and changed their format, including moving some things to written communications. And I can't tell you how many times you see something at work and it's like, this meeting could have been an email. This could have been an email. So I feel like that there could truly cut out time. If we make some of these meetings that the jobs have as emails, just free up a work day, give the people back their time. Workers say the extra time is worth a lot to them. 42% say that they would need a 26 to 50% pay bump to go back to working Monday through Friday. 13% said you couldn't pay them enough to go back to a 5-day work week. The next article, Global 4-Day Week Pilot was a huge success, organizers say. None of the 27 participating companies who responded to a survey by 4-Day Week Global said that they were leaning towards or planning on returning to their former 5-day routine. So in this trial, the trial was also good for company earnings. Like I said, the previous article mentioned different earnings and revenue increase, even though they decreased the work time by a day. Employees also stated that they didn't receive an intensity of their workload. Some people were afraid that if they were taken off a day, that their bosses would try to test the limits to see how much they could really get done. So they were scared that they would ramp up on the work or make it more intense to make it seem like we need to go back to a 5 day week. But they didn't see any type of intensity change in intensity, and that they suggest the work recognize this suggests that the work reorganization strategy succeeded in performance and was not achieved via speeding up, which is neither sustainable nor desirable. So, what do you think about this article?
Like I said earlier, I'm an advocate for working smarter, not harder. So I feel like as long as the work is getting done, I don't think there's a need for necessarily 5 day work weeks for every job. Like I do think some of the jobs it might be hard to implement, but I do think with any job that you can get away with a 4 day work week. It's kind of like in my head being part-time but still getting paid the same amount of money. So I feel like if the job could allow people to work at like those rates, you would get so much more done because people would be happy to come to work. They would be happy to do whatever they're doing at that time. So I'm big on it. I think the work day week being 4 days would be an improvement.
This article also stated how the extra day off had changed their lives for the better, giving them more time to run errands, take up hobbies, and simply recharge. And that's another thing that never made any sense to me about working a 9 to 5, 5 day week is that what if you have to do like bank errands or go to the post office or go to the DMV? It doesn't really allow time for that, and you shouldn't have to take off PTO or sick time or use your lunch period to go and get stuff like that done. So a 4 day work week would make things like that a whole lot easier for the people that may work 9 to 5 during the regular business hours who need to get everything else done.
I agree. Article goes into depth about how the 4 day work week has increased productivity. The study is allowing Americans to see how helpful it is for 4 day work weeks and why it's so important. For me, when I was reading this article, I thought that it was really cool that they pointed out a whole bunch of statistics on like numbers, because a lot of times people don't really, think things are working unless they can see results. So as I mentioned earlier, they said that 88% of the respondents stated that the 4 day work week was working well. And companies, when they see numbers like that, I feel like they're more in tune to go ahead and be like, okay, well, this is working well. And it's kind of like monkey see, monkey do, in my opinion. So once they see somebody do something well, they're like, oh, well, we can catch on. And I think that will help with other people. So I think that hopefully with this happening, that more companies will be more likely to go ahead and push for a 4 day work week. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, it's funny that you said that because one of the articles actually said you don't want to be the company that's last to do it, because it's not your problem isn't who's to do it first, it's if your competitors do it before you. So if your competitor in your market has implemented this 4 day work week and they're taking up all the employees when we're already in a period where people are, I guess you can say, a little more picky about the jobs that they take in this market. So we're in a space where people don't just take any job, and your competitor makes it much more appealing, then that could be bad for your business. So that was definitely a point that was made in one of the articles that stuck out to me.
Yeah, because I'm like that. If I see that this job is going to offer me better benefits, then why would I work a 5 day work week when I can work a 4 day work week and get everything accomplished and have that extra day to myself? Another thing that one of the articles said, I'm not sure if it was necessarily this article, but they were talking about how some people drive to work and you save so much time with driving. So like, let's imagine you work 30 minutes away from your office. That's a whole hour that you have of freedom now that you don't have to worry about being in the car. Yes. So like things like that will be like beneficial for the 4 day work people that are working 4 day work weeks instead of 5 day work weeks. And yeah, that's all I have for that article. The next article is titled Bernie Sanders Supports a 4 day work week. These companies tried it and here's what happened. So 61 companies moved to a 4-day work week. Here's what happened to revenue and employees' relationship with their job. And with that article, basically, Bernie was saying why he supported the 4-day work week. He was basically stating like that since technology and there's so many advancements, that moving to a 4-day work week at this point is something that most companies can do. They're choosing not to do it because in my head, this is my thought process. I feel like with Americans or like in general, we have like you have to work hard for everything. Like everybody's like, oh, you need to be constantly working. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on pushing yourself. But at the same time, when you have so much like advancements in technologies and things like that, then why not make it easier on yourself and the workers? Because when you have happy workers, I just feel like you tend to get more things accomplished. And that's basically what Bernie was saying. And then I think also, yeah, that as Americans, we have a weird obsession with just, believing that we have to labor hard in order to get things accomplished. Any thoughts?
Yes, they said that in this article, they surveyed a bunch of different additional companies that weren't a part of this survey, and of them, at least 40% said that they are willing to try out the model. And it's just ways to make themselves more competitive in a market where a lot of jobs are now remote, so people don't have to go into work at all, or they have to now start really implementing things that work for the employee and not just the company. Because from a lot that we see is the companies are very selfish. It's a very bottom line. This is the dollar amount that we want to make off this person, and they need to be in the office working hard. I'm not going to say the S word. Right. Working hard every minute of the day. So
every dollar's earned.
Every dollar is earned. Like if you come in 2 minutes late from your lunch, like they're trying
clock
to
it.
give you demerits and things like that. Like I promise you, those 2 minutes were not make or break for this project that I had to finish. Like the work will still get done. So now it puts that pressure back on the companies and not the employees of always having to fit in these tight guidelines. It's making those companies loosen those guidelines a little bit. So it's good to see, some workers' benefits coming into play because it doesn't happen too often.
Yeah, and I think also with the 4-day work week, especially if you're going to an office, it kind of helps because a lot of people do work remote now. So like if you're going in the office 5 days a week and you have people that are able to do stuff from home, I think when COVID did happen, it just allowed people to see like how much more they could get accomplished on their own time. A lot of companies try to like watch to make sure you're doing what you're doing. But for me, it's more like if you're getting it done, then what's the issue? I mean, some people work past the times that they need to work in like the office. So let's say I'm there from 9 to 5. People end up staying to 6, 7 trying to get stuff done because they're pushing themselves. But like this would just give people more of a like, okay, work-life balance. I feel like work-life balance is very important. And I think a lot of people are like just now catching on to how important those things are. The next article was titled, "A 4-Day Workweek Pilot Was So Successful That Most Firms Won't Go Back." And what stuck out for me in this article was that 50% of employees who participated said that no amount of money would convince them to go back to working 5 days a week. And I feel like, especially like for my generation, I can see that being true. I don't know too many people that if they were offered a 4-day work week that would ever go back to a 5-day work week, no matter how much more money you were making, unless it was like an extreme amount of money difference. I feel like that extra day is just so much more beneficial because you can do so much more. Like you can get so many more things done. People have hobbies that they want to take up. People have outside interests that they want to do. Like it would just be more advantageous, is that the word I'm looking for? Okay. For them to like have that day instead of like being at work. And I feel like that extra day to have other things to do is definitely going to give them that. Yeah.
This article definitely touched on the work-life balance the most. How a lot of the people that they interviewed talked about feeling guilty that they couldn't spend time with their family as much, or guilty that they could never pick up their kids from school or be present for school activities. So a lot of the people interviewed in this article reported how they now have that time. If they have a day or two where they would have been at work, then now they can either work remote or just, flex that time out. They're able to go to their children's plays or pick out when they can go do things with their children. If it's a weekday where they usually have to work a weekend, now they have their time to take their child to the children's museum or whatever it is that their kid may do. So this article definitely touched on that work-life balance and how it's important for a lot of people. And I can definitely say that's a thing that happens in our generation a lot too. A lot of people just, well, I guess just in general, not even just with our generation, people end up working so much that their work life balance starts to suffer. So I think our generation is just more forthcoming about how that makes them feel, whether it's depression or burnout. We're more forthcoming with talking about it, to whereas previous generations, our parents will just power through it and go to work because that's all they know. They didn't have the option to work remotely or to have a 4-day week. So it's good to see this stuff come into place to make a better person in general so that we can prevent that burnout.
Yeah.